Not how I
Do
wanted
what
it.
I want to do.
Oh, I see, that'll work.
No, it always does. It always comes down. Hi, and welcome to Australian Gamers E3 podcast. I'm Yug,
I'm Matt.
and from the show floor today, we've got more hardware announcements for the Nintendo Wii.
Lost Planet for the Xbox 360.
Yeah, and some other standout games from the first day of E3.
Finally, some World of Warcraft Burning Crusade info.
I'm not going to say yeah.
No, I wondered if you were. I was ready. I had a fist closed. Everything I say, he's like, "Yep," and I'm like,
Well,
no,
I
stop.
don't know. It's just,
You don't have to agree with me. I said a thing.
Look, I don't usually agree with you. To
No,
be honest,
I
so
know.
you should just,
Why now?
Accept it. Just grab onto that and go, yay!
We had one more.
I have Yug's approval.
We did have one more.
No, we don't.
When did you say that one? Did
Yeah.
you say the impressions of E3?
Yeah, it was standout games from the first day of E3. Isn't that the same thing?
No, wasn't this just a whole separate thing? Our impressions of E3 generally that were
We
things
aren't,
people
but
said.
we aren't at E3.
We're recording live on the show floor now. Everyone out there knows it. No, but we were going to just say some things people generally...
Actually, that's true. And I would like to start off with that, I think, actually, because the main thing...
So for a start, it wasn't even relevant. Now all of a sudden it's the most important thing
Well, you
ever.
see, you've phrased it weirdly.
You know what? We run over time all the time, so let's get on with it.
Yes, fair enough. Let's get on with it and talk about the important things. I have not had much sleep lately, but you're being awfully silent.
Because you wanted to talk about this.
I want to talk
Therefore,
about
this is your thing you want to talk about. So talk about it, for God's sake.
The Nintendo Wii impressions from E3. A lot of people are saying it's extremely sensitive. Now, this is one thing I was actually wondering, because, I mean, there's going to be people who are using it that are taking massive, great swings, when they do a sword movement or something like that, and other people that are using much more smaller, movement with it. And how do you actually calibrate something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you could say the same of any controller, really, couldn't you? You just have to get the hang of however the game works.
No.
Yes, to a degree.
To a degree, sort of thing. But if the other thing is, I was reading first impressions of Red Steel. Some people have actually played it on the floor, and they were saying that with the actual sword motion, you've actually sort of got to keep the controller within a certain space around you. If you do massive, big swinging motions, it doesn't quite register on the screen as much. In the same respect, if you actually have the controller pointing down while you're not using it and you're walking around, when you come to point it back up the screen, it takes a couple of seconds to actually register again. And just little things like that, which I did wonder, and I think everyone's sort of, because the Wii's been announced for so long now, everyone's sort of just taken it for granted that this thing will automatically work, but realistically this is the first time anyone's actually had a chance to play it and use it and go, yeah, I guess it does work. I remember the first time I ever heard about the controller thinking, that sounds kind of dodgy. I mean, the idea is cool, but man, how are they actually going to...
Well, it's hard enough with the current technology to get a basic light gun kind of thing working.
That's exactly what I mean.
Even those can be a bit dodgy. We had quite a lot of trouble setting up House of the Dead 3 and stuff, calibrating it properly, getting it to... And I don't think we ever really got it 100% right.
No, and for that matter, I know the Wii is not a light gun or anything like that. It's much more advanced than that. But the same... I mean, that's the only real thing I had to compare it to at the time. And they were very dodgy. Even in the arcades, there's still that slight calibration issue. There's always going to be that, small inaccuracy where you're shooting sort of thing. And that you just can't afford to have that on other games that aren't shooting games, like driving games or Mario, jumping around or stuff like that. So.
Well, you can to a large degree, because if you've got the Wii held like this and you turn it that many degrees, that's that many degrees. It doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, but I'm saying, if you're pointing at the screen and shooting, if you're aiming, sniper or something like that, and it's, got, it's a little bit jerky where you're aiming or something like that, then that's going to affect the gameplay.
Yeah, that was always a problem with some light gun games. Yeah. And I did wonder about that, this kind of lag, that latency, whether that's going to be a problem in games, and I guess we'll have to wait and see for ourselves.
We will. I mean, basically the general report is, yes, it works, yes, it's a lot of fun, yes, it takes a bit of getting used to, which is it's completely fair enough. I mean, things like WarioWare, and we're watching a video of WarioWare. What's it called again? WarioWare Smooth Moves. Before, and it looked very intuitive, very easy. But I was reading about Red Steel again, and they were saying, it took us about half the game to actually get used to actually playing it. Because don't forget, like, you're using the left trigger to move and the right trigger to look around. Usually no, that's right. That's how it is on normal controllers.
Yeah.
It is? You move the left one? Oh, okay. Well, never mind. I was going nowhere with that then.
Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, what's some of the other games that I thought were interesting? I mean, Super Smash Brothers Brawl was announced or shown with Solid Snake.
Yeah, Solid Snake is one of the playable characters, and my first thought was, what? Because to me, Solid Snake is Metal Gear Solid, a PlayStation game originally, and then onto the PlayStation 2 and so on. And
you don't exactly associate. Well, I mean, he was on Nintendo and stuff.
But I was going to say he was originally a Nintendo property. So
I mean, wasn't the original Metal Gear Solid
the original
remade for the GameCube? Wasn't there a remake of Metal Gear Solid?
Oh, well, apparently, I haven't really said much about that, but I have vaguely heard that.
It may not have been released in Australia.
But in any case, what I was wondering is, if Nintendo do have a license to use the character of Solid Snake, how far exactly does that license extend? I mean, Solid Snake then was a 12 pixel high Blockman. Do they have the license to use the model from... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's going to be the next character in the next Mario Kart game as well. There's going to be a big Solid Snake sitting on a little tiny go-kart going around them.
Can you just... Going back to my point, because it wasn't stupid...
that's what you're saying, though. You're suggesting why can't they use that character in their games?
No, that's exactly in no way related to anything like what I was saying. Not that it's not a valid point of its own.
What were you saying?
What I was saying was that is the Solid Snake they have a license to use the same one that was in... Because that was how old a game? 12 years, 15-year-old game.
I wouldn't think so. I think it's just some deal they've struck up with Konami. I mean...
Yeah, that's what I would have thought.
I don't think Konami would really have that much of a problem with it. I mean, the Solid Snake series, especially recently, has been known to... I mean, you look at Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance.
Yeah.
The extras or even Metal Gear Solid 3, the extras and the wacky stuff with the monkeys and the extra features and stuff like that, they're all quite a bit wacky, actually, which is interesting for a game that's so serious, takes itself so seriously. So, yeah, I can understand Konami going, yeah, let's put him in Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I just kind of wondered that because, like, the Nintendo Solid Snake wasn't really the same.
I don't think Nintendo has ownership over the license. I think it would be more a case
of property rights.
No, I don't think so. I think it would be more a case of Konami.
Yeah, true.
Nintendo
Konami
going
would have the right.
and going, hey, would you want to do this? And them going, yeah, all right, because they're not exclusive. Solid Snake is not exclusive to Sony by any means.
No, true. There was a Game Boy version. There's a GBA version.
There's a mobile phone version.
Yeah, true.
What are some other games?
Some other exciting games were included. To me, the standout so far has been Spore.
Yeah, you really did.
I remember playing Black and White and being impressed by the scope, the ability to go from looking like quite close up at a person and then like being able to zoom back and see almost like to a countryside landscape sort of level and being impressed by that. But this you can go from literally single cell organisms right the way out to a galactic level. That's the most...
Is that what that was? I didn't actually pick that up. I sort of...
What?
I wasn't watching. I only saw the beginning bit.
No, by the end of it, he was actually like... And he just kept going out, and it ended up at the point where he was looking at... Because he's looking at a planet, and then he goes further out, and you could see lots of planets and stars, further out, and it's like galaxies.
I mean...
And he said this is only like 4/6 of the levels you can go to, and I do know that at least one other of the levels was a single cellular sort of organism.
I mean,
to create.
To be completely honest, it doesn't get much more epic than being able to start at a single cell organism and then practically zoom out to a galaxy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And what was probably the most impressive thing about it, though, and Yug would probably agree with me because he was actually watching this bit.
Yeah.
Is that the editor that they built was both an impressive editor in that it could do really good things, really powerful things.
Yep.
But probably more importantly, it was probably more importantly, it was easy to use.
Yeah. It looked really, really easy, man. Like they were adding, like it started off with like the basic vertebrae spine sort of thing, and then they added the legs and the feet and the hands, and they just put them anywhere. And the amount of customization, like they put the guy that was playing it put the eyes on the character, and they moved the eyes to be bigger or thinner, or the slits small, sort of thing.
Yeah. There was an amazing amount of customization,
and textures and colours and stripes and everything like that.
Not only of the creatures, like of every aspect of it, even in terms of its basic physiology, its basic actual design.
Yeah.
You could change such a ridiculous number of things about it.
I actually thought the coolest thing was, though, like, once he'd made this creature, the animations of the character, that creature that he'd made, looked completely fluent and actually almost made for that character.
It was all procedurally animated, so basically it goes, okay, I've got arms, they're here, my centre of gravity is here, and
my mouth is here and my eyes are here, so
it worked out how it should move based on how it was built, and that's impressive to me.
It showed like attacking moves, and like the one that he built had the mouth down at the base, and it like looked like a scorpion, but at the top where the tail usually is, there was the eyes, and the hands were halfway, and when it showed the animation, like the hands were reaching down and grabbing the mouth sort of thing, and it was doing all these attacking moves, which it was just really, really amazing. It's the kind of game which I can just see people just getting lost in for hours. That addictive sort of never-ending, never-stopping gameplay.
I mean, it seemed to combine everything good from a lot of games I've seen, from Civilization to and Civilization, fair enough, because it is by
Sid Meier.
No,
isn't it? Will Wright.
Will Wright.
Yep.
So, everything good from people from games like that to Black and White to so there's empire building and conquest and sim life and creatures and this and that. So it could be a spectacularly, amazingly good game.
I don't know if the video that you're watching showed it, but I mean I've read up a bit about it, and some of the online community features are amazing as well. From what I've read, like the sharing of the characters and the fact that you can actually download other people's creatures, bring them into your actual
one other thing I did read was
that them and fight against them, and
all the objects themselves are very, 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 very small. Because they're built mathematically and they're animated mathematically, there's no textures, there's like base textures within the game, and because everything is built off those, and then these shaders are applied mathematically, you don't have to send a model, you just send a formula, and those formulas are actually relatively small, very small. So, and it's the same for landscapes, for creatures, for buildings, for vehicles, for everything you make is really small to transport.
No, I reckon it looks really cool.
Yeah, so that's one that definitely impressed me. Another one that impressed us, and it was partially a video we saw.
Yeah, it was. Look, it's called Assassin's Creed, and it's on the PlayStation 3. And they showed a video of it at the Sony conference. And to be honest, and even after I've saw the current video, I'm pretty sure it's rendered.
It's hard to tell though. We have I had an argument with someone. Well, I didn't have an argument with someone today. They asked what I thought was a bit of a strange question, which was, will CG get better, as good as, or better than? Sorry, will real-time movies get as good as or better than CG type images? And my answer was, well, no, because at the same time, this one's getting better, so is the other one.
Yeah.
Yes, today's CG
is better than the CG 10 years ago. So
but at the same time, like the real-time graphics of things today are better than the CG 10 years ago.
Yeah, so that's what I mean,
we could make a game now with graphics, on a PlayStation 3 or whatever, with graphics as good as or better than Toy Story 1 or 2, for example.
Yeah.
Maybe A Bug's Life. Probably close to A Bug's Life, but do it better than Finding Nemo and I'll be impressed.
Well, I think the difference is not so much the quality and the actual thing, but just the motions. I mean, a CG cutscene, CG animation, you don't usually see things repeated twice. You know what I mean?
No, but
it's animation. It's not. You're not controlling it. There's not a set pattern of moves. Sort of thing. So,
but a long enough animation could be real time.
Yeah. A stupid question, though, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, Assassin's Creed, the video, I thought, yeah, that's cool, but it looks cool. Rendered, and it's like, whatever, sort of thing.
A good CG is cool, but you have to convince us that there's a game there.
Yeah, I'm actually not all that interested in good CG.
No, I'm the same. I'm the same.
Unless it's like something that I've got a nostalgic factor.
Because you can do it. They're unrelated. I mean, you look at the CG for example, World of Warcraft. It's an awesome bit of CG. It's really, really impressive, and it's an amazing game. But there's no connection between the two whatsoever.
No,
it's not that kind of game. It doesn't sum up the game in any way. It doesn't. Like, it's cool, but and it makes you want to play.
You know what? The CG in, say, Final Fantasy games, they do actually add to the games, and they actually are a big part of those games themselves.
They're a big part of it, but to suggest that they are the game, like Sony did many years ago with, I think it was Final Fantasy VIII, and they showed a bunch of dancing sequences and stuff, and everyone went, "Wow, that looks amazing!" And you know what it does? It's a video.
Yeah. Anyway, look, I do want to talk about Assassin's Creed because I read they were showing it behind closed doors at E3. And for what's worth, it's by the same group of people, Ubisoft Montreal, I think, that did the Prince of Persia games, the new Prince of Persia games, right?
So it's got a fair pedigree, and they know how to make things move.
I didn't know that, and that immediately grabs my attention because I love those games. But the interesting things, they were saying, it looks incredible, it looks amazing, and all this kind of thing. The thing that interests me was that they've apparently got these awesome crowd. Not sequences, but like it just feels like a real living
scenes, basically, where
crowd marketplace sort of thing or whatever. But as you're walking through, like in any other game, when you walk through a crowd sort of thing, you walk through a crowd. It's like you don't really interact with the other people.
Well, in actual fact, most of the time when you go to a place, a town, a city, it's almost always pretty empty. There's a few people on the sides that you can't go near, sort of thing.
Yeah, I've never actually played a game where it's like it feels packed, like crowds. Maybe, I don't know.
The only games that I've seen where it really felt like there were a lot of people was something like World of Warcraft in some of the major cities, but you can't interact with anyone.
No, you just walk straight through them. Or like games where it's massive battles or massive groups of people. State of Emergency was one, actually. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, true.
Massive groups of people, but you just walk through them or around them or whatever. But this one, when you're actually walking through these crowds, you've got the option even to actually either push them out of the way or slowly sort of jostle your way through them.
Yeah, you can
you can be a bit more aggressive or you can be a bit more subtle. And I mean, you do play as an assassin, right? So you do have the option on how to play, but it's set in like a medieval time period. We think there seems to be a twist, some sort of sci-fi
there's
twist.
There's a neat little twist,
which would be really, really cool. But it's also. Did you read that a lot of the moves that they actually took were based on that form of... I don't know if it's considered a sport yet, but the thing where people are just running up walls and running...
Oh, yeah. I've seen some really cool videos of that.
That's what they're basing it off. Free jumping or...
I don't know.
I can't remember. But that's
running like a goose.
That's what they're basing most of the movement on, sort of thing. And that anything that is actually a flat enough surface... you can grab onto and pull yourself up onto anything.
Nice.
So you'll be able to run up anything and go anywhere. They said it's almost like having superhero qualities to your character, but there actually are no superhero.
There's one because there's always been one problem with superheroes. They're a little too tough. They can do too much.
Yeah.
When you can fly and are impervious to bullets and this and that, what's left? where do you go from there?
Well, I mean, and this is really exciting because that's what I liked about the Prince of Persia games was you're just a prince with a sword sort of thing, but you've just got these awesome moves. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're superhuman or stuff like that. It's just that you're goddamn awesome.
Yeah, you're cool.
You're cool, It's not like I am impervious to bullets and all this kind of stuff, and I have heat rays coming out of my ass. Or machine guns coming out of my ass.
Yeah,
like
Astro Boy style.
Yes. But, yeah, so I'm really... that one's actually taken the cake for me as the most exciting game out of E3 for me so far.
I'm still up for Spore,
but
that does look good. There's certainly... It's not like they're competing styles of game or anything.
Yeah, but it just sounds so cool.
Definitely looks good. I actually liked some of the more story-based aspects, like, for example, when basically the video, you see him go in, kill a dude, run away. He gets chased to a doorway. When the doorway opens, a bunch of priests come out. No, those priests sort of circle round him, and the guards won't go to the priest, but it seems to me that they're on his side.
Yeah.
He seems to work for them. That to me is a nice, interesting twist.
Well,
but
the whole sci-fi twist to it.
But the other really interesting twist was the sort of science fiction static that started to be generated at that point. Like this kind of hiss made you think, is this a simulation?
Yeah,
is he on the holodeck? Like, what's going on here? This is all a bit strange.
It's a time travel thing, but
definitely going to be one to watch out for.
Yeah.
Do you know what the main problem I have with all this stuff is, though?
What?
It's like a billion years off. None of this stuff is coming out on Thursday.
It is interesting because we are seeing all these awesome videos and thankfully games which are actually playable and stuff like that. So it does mean they are in development and they are far enough along in development that they have playable versions of them.
Yeah.
But even when the PlayStation 3 and the Wii launch in November, sort of thing, that's not to say that half these games are going to launch. With the exception of
a few that have been announced.
Zelda is going to launch on the Wii.
Yep.
As in, it'll be a launch title.
Yep.
As will Metroid.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, Metroid Prime 3 will be a launch title.
Is Mario going to be a launch title?
I suspect they want it to be. It actually looks reasonably polished, so it does depend on.
I gotta say, I'm just pretty impressed with Nintendo's actual whole
I've seen
approach.
A few polls done, including our own, where people basically said Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, who did the best job.
Yep.
And it's pretty much always been Nintendo, and in fact, usually Nintendo are about 60%.
Yeah.
And the other two at about,
I mean, it's
50 or 60%.
They're just doing so much right from
as
much as they can.
They've done a really good job.
They've got the heavy hitters they've got the franchises in that Mario, Zelda, and Metroid, which are the three biggest.
There has been an announcement of a Resident Evil game for the Wii. Did you hear that?
I did not.
I'm always up for a bit of a Resident Evil on a Nintendo console. Like, you don't have to trick me into playing Resident Evil.
No.
I'll be up for that.
I mean, okay, ask yourself this question: What game franchise at the moment is missing from Nintendo's Wii lineup?
I don't know.
None.
That is a good point, actually.
They've
of the
got
Nintendo classics, you've got your Zelda coming out.
Maybe the possible exception of a Mario Kart game on the Wii, which I think will be inevitable with the new controller.
Yeah,
but
true.
they probably don't want to bring that out just yet because I don't know. The DS version just came out so quickly, and
I don't know. By the time it comes out, it'll be well and truly safe.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I just think they're doing so much right. And the Xbox 360, the second generation games, some of them look pretty cool.
They did look like they got some pretty impressive stuff.
Assassin's Creed, that's done it for me.
I must admit, I actually think a lot of the PlayStation 3 stuff's looking a lot better than the Xbox 360
Which
stuff.
is a worry because the Xbox 360 is second generation now.
Yeah, there is one really big major difference though, which is that the Xbox 360 stuff is playing on Xbox 360s. Like what we're seeing is running on real definite hardware.
Yeah.
The
PlayStation 3 stuff.
The PlayStation 3, I still worry there's a little bit of wiggle room, that they're still doing a little bit of.
Yeah.
This is what it probably will look like.
Well, I mean, this is the other.
I mean, I'll believe it when it's on my television. Basically.
Pretty much. This is the other thing that I think everyone needs to be aware of. I mean, this E3 conference, it's not really for the fans.
No.
It is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and these are companies that have sunk millions and millions of dollars in these games, and they're showing them off for the first time at these things. There is a lot of at risk and a lot at stake for publishers and game developers alike who are showing off their games here.
I mean, a mayor from GameSpy or GameSpot, that's a lot of money in that.
Yeah, exactly. But more importantly, if they can sort of get away with showing off their demo, and if they bump up the processing power by about 15%, and the frame rate doesn't drop, sort of thing, they'll do that. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. And you know what? That's just E3.
And another thing is they've still got a year's development on some of these titles, so it's they're probably going, well, we'll have optimized it by at least that by
exactly.
then. And probably true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I kind of worry that they're working with hardware that they know they won't be using, and that basically there's some white lies happening there to make their products and make the platform itself look as good as possible. Understandable, but at the same time, I don't necessarily trust it.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't surprise me, and well, finally, I mean, World of Warcraft Burning Crusade. I don't really know much about it except a new race that's
World of Warcraft Burning Crusade is the expansion pack. Everyone you presumably would know that. Burning Crusade is
what game's it for? Is World of Warcraft?
Yeah, it's basically the sequel to Warcraft.
Oh, okay, right. Is it a RTS sort of thing?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Well, that sounds like fun.
Someone asked me today if there was a StarCraft equivalent.
No, that was in
April. Wait. Yeah, Can you let me tell my stories, please? Anyway, someone asked me, and I'm like, no. So I looked it up and saw that there was one, and then saw the actual date, and thought, interesting. Had World of StarCraft.
Yeah. At the bottom of...
Because I thought about it afterwards, after I realised it was a joke, and I thought, actually, that is a bad idea. There's no scope, really, for, like, an RPG based in the universe. It's a bit too limited.
Yeah, but you know what? In the same respect, I never really thought there was a massive multi-online role-playing game out of the Warcraft universe.
There's actually... Well, because we kind of think of it as... There's orcs, there's humans, they smash each other, but there's actually a lot of history to it and a lot of really...
No, don't get me... Did you ever play Warcraft 3?
Not much.
I played quite a bit of it.
They put a lot of story into it. And
do you remember kicking everyone's asses at it when we used to work?
I had hardware issues with it at the time.
That's right. But yeah, no, there were a lot of different characters and a lot of background stories on all those characters as well. But same with StarCraft, and StarCraft had a very rich story. But in the same respect, StarCraft's another science fiction.
Well, there's actually a few little references to StarCraft in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
There's at least one particular enemy that if you knock them down, if you kill them, you can look really close up at the body. They're a robot thing. They're a mech thing.
Yeah.
That the goblins ride in, and you can see what's her name?
Kerrigan. Oh.
Kerrigan.
Yeah.
Kerrigan on the screen. She's their commander.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just one of those little weird things they decided to do for the hell of it.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like that. But Burning Crusade. Well, the new character race.
Yes, the Draenei.
Draenei.
Yes.
Not Drano.
Not Draenei.
I did read the history of it actually. Their character history. They were they were given the option by the evil bad guy or whatever thousands of years ago to side with them and become all powerful. The catch was they become big demons as well, and they chose not to, and they were banished and all this kind of stuff. And then they befriended the orcs. And the big bad guy, the orcs got tricked, and then there was a big war between the orcs and them, and then there's hardly any of the Draenei left.
A lot of them actually left and were exiled and are living in Azeroth now.
Yeah,
and you see them scattered around. There's a few here and there. There's a little dwelling off.
Well, interesting.
They're a bit mad, and I actually thought that was what they looked like, but they're actually those ones are twisted.
So they are in the game.
There's something called Lost Ones.
Yeah, and there's three. Well, yeah. Go on. Sorry.
Well, there's basically the Draenei, and then there's Lost Ones, and I can't remember what they're called. Something else. who the lost ones are mad. They're completely insane.
It actually said it was
violent.
because of the impact of the orcs, or it was some magic rubbing off on them from the orcs, which sort of
split off,
made them almost
stock.
De-evolve and go a bit crazy.
But I actually thought early on that the de-evolved looking ones were what they were, but no, they're actually pretty big, fierce looking dudes.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, that should be cool. Not as cool as the Pandaren would have been, but still cool.
Yeah, but you reckon that may have been a little bit one-time gimmicky sort of thing?
Honestly, I actually probably think it should have been something a bit different, because considering the races that we have now, they're all a little bit too humanoid, particularly in the Alliance. I wouldn't have minded seeing, like, you know how you got the Taurens on the Horde side. I wouldn't mind seeing maybe something a bit Taurenish.
These guys, they look a bit Tauren. They got big tails and big, like, 2 clawed hoof feet sort of thing.
Yeah, but they still look pretty humanoid, particularly in the face. I don't know. I just would have liked to have seen something a bit different.
They might be a lot taller than any of the other characters as well. They do look pretty badass, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway,
you're badass.
Really?
No, not really.
But yeah, I think that's all we've really got to talk about.
You got a Playboy shirt on, and when you're sitting like that, or kind of hunched up, she kind of folds in like one of those Mad Magazine things. So she's like this woman with just a mouth and eyes, no nose at all. And I'm thinking, the Playboy has an interesting concept of female beauty, and I admire them for picking something unusual. See, now she looks better. Now she's all stretched out.
Folding it out there.
But no boobies, which is
no, she's got boobies. She's
got them, but she's covering them. That's not really the point.
Sorry. Okay, the time where you start analysing my T-shirt is the time where we stop doing the podcast.
Also this time when we start mentioning boobies.
Yes.
Not that there's anything wrong with boobies.
No.
If you happen to have boobies, we are okay with that.
Yeah. And
please send photos of them.
If anyone has any complaints with the site, there's been a new email address set up.
At the website.
If anyone has any problems with the posts that we make or the comments that we make in the podcast, just send an email to, what is it?
Have a cry at
AustralianGamer.com. Yeah, because we care.
So just feel free to have a cry.
Yeah.
You big baby.
Alright, well, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Same time tomorrow.
Friday. Australian Gamers, Friday night podcast.
Cool. Alright, see you later.
Bye.